Back, hey, hey, hey. What this is all about. So I have some more updates aside from the new dead person. Hey Tony, how's it going? I'm a little early because I don't want to miss it. Like I don't want them to make his start and then he'll already be talking. So they've already postponed it 30 minutes. It was supposed to start 20 minutes ago. Hey, thanks, Brad. Welcome back, Cat Lady. I actually need to play with Simon a little bit. I was gonna play with him just now, but
Easy peasy, Japanesey.
PT in the house. Hey man. I was gonna play with him, but he wanted to eat. He didn't want to have play. All he cared about was going to the kitchen. But then when I came in here, he came and meowed at me, kind of like, okay, I want to play now. So I was gonna throw the ball a little bit. Wait, I can get this thing and play with him with this. Hold on. Oh, it'll be on time. Hopefully they'll be on time. So I've come to realize the sheriff's usually not on time. What? Oh, hell no. Fuck. Damn, man. Fucking eBay took down my listing and said I'm not allowed to sell it. Damn, what, man? That's whack, dude. Took down the other person that was selling them too. Oh no, they didn't. There's one still up. About to get taken down too. For how long they'll stay up. Crazy, man. Vaporizer batteries are now against eBay policy. Can be used because it's used for marijuana. Can't sell it. A fucking battery, dude. That's whack. Now how am I gonna get rid of them? They were doing alright too. Every now and then I'd sell one. Yeah, they took down the other dude that just recently sold them too. There's only one listing left of them. He hasn't sold any yet though. Review man. What the? No wonder nobody was selling them. They probably all got that warning already. No, I can't. I can try again on another account maybe, but I'm not gonna risk my account. It's old. I'll just use a different, like Mercari or whatever the other one's called, or maybe I'll try to sell one glass grab. Man, what a stupid fucking rule, man. eBay, man, dude. I got like 8 of those things left, 10 of them left. I just got the email, that's why I'm tripping out on it right now. So we had to remove your listing because it didn't follow our illegal drugs and drug paraphernalia policy. Illegal drugs and drug paraphernalia and drug-like substances are not allowed. While this product may not be illegal or problematic in your area, we do not allow vaporizers or accessories that can be used for hash, BHO, or wax, as eBay considers them to be drug paraphernalia. While we appreciate that you have chosen to utilize our site, we must ask that you please do not relist this particular item. What you need to do next. You can't relist items we've ended. Please ensure your current and future listings follow this policy. What is the policy? The following items are not allowed to be listed on eBay: narcotics, steroids, and other controlled substances, including any substances listed in Schedule 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Uniform Controlled Substance Act. Items that claim to provide a legal high. Pipes or any item marketed for use with marijuana or illegal drugs. Tobacco pipes and other smoking accessories not intended for drug use are allowed. Vaporizers intended to be used with alcohol, marijuana, or illegal substances. Those aren't allowed either. Wait a second. I'm selling a fucking battery, dude. It's not the actual I guess it is, because, man, that's fucked up, dude. Man, really? Bro. How this affects your account. Because you may have not been aware of this policy, we're sending this notice to educate you about it and ask that you follow this policy in the future. Listings that don't follow this policy have been ended. We have credited any associated fees except for any final value fee for your listing. Listings that don't follow this policy in the future will be ended. Oh, so that's it? It'll just be ended? Hey, fuck it. I'll list that bitch again if you're just gonna end it. You ain't gonna cancel me? I thought you'd cancel me, bro. Like, do that in the future. We will end you. I'd be like, oh, I'm not doing that again. But they said we will just end it. Really? Is it because of my OG? That doesn't sound too scary. The fuck, end it. I'm not gonna press it though.
No, because I'll hit this. I can use closer.
Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Thank you for coming out. We're still looking at 3, but I'm about to lie to you, so I apologize on that. We'll see where we actually land.
I got a couple of seconds.
What?
Audio check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Possibly 3 minute. I don't know.
County 3-minute warning.
As soon as I know, I'll happily pass that along. Is audio good for everyone? All right. Now we're just having fun. Copy that.
I don't think we're that bad.
A peach. I forgot for a second that eBay had just done that. I ratted this out, dude. I bet some asshole's pissed off that he couldn't get one. They're like, he thinks they're too expensive or some shit, probably, because they're way more expensive than they were actually from the site. Way more. But people were buying them, dude. So, bruh. So, you know what I mean? But I would get messages from people that were pissed off about it, though. Like, hey, man, will you sell it to me for $10? Like, what? Fucking random people hit me up asking me if it's still for sale. You see the listing, don't you? I mean, if it's still for sale. It's one of those fuckers that reported us, I bet. Actually. People that... It's not my fault that there's not one of the batteries near you, dude. I didn't buy them all up, and I have 8 of them. It's not like I'm the reason you don't have a fucking battery, you know? And that's how they see it. They're like, oh, he's the reason why they're out of batteries. I bought these things months ago. Man. Shut me down. Haters. Hating on my hustle. That's what it always is, man. Motherfuckers hating on my hustle on here, too. That's what the haters coming through on here. They're hating on the hustle. That's all it is. Oh, unless I've went off on them, then they might actually be hating on me. I've went off on a lot of people. A lot of collateral damage. Yo, TX Farmer, fucking getting the clout today. What's up, man? How you doing? That's Marshmallow OG live batter here. It's like 85% THC. This shit's it's harsh, a little harsh, a little strong. But that sunset over the Gulf of Mexico. That water feels like piss. You ever swim in the Gulf of Mexico? Dude, it's so warm. It's uncomfortably warm. As it was up in Panama City. They're pretty far south though. San Noble Island area.
Audio check.
Or Hurricane Ida, whatever it hit. Bitcoin, BMW, tell me how you been. Bro, what's Bitcoin up to?
Everybody's good on sound?
Do one last one?
I don't know. I'm
Crazy.
just checking. Anybody need sound?
I gotta take eBay off my screen. It pisses me off every time I look at it now. It's just looking at my thing too. Seeing how many others are out there selling them and Yo, Toodles McGee. Good mood? I don't know. I'm just in a better mood from not streaming all day, probably. It's stressful, dude. It's been getting pretty stressful doing this all day and not having any content. I've been drained. I've been drinking just to deal with it. I haven't drank in 3 days since I started not streaming so much. I was getting bloated, drinking every day, depressed, fucking hate my life. I had to stop that.
Okay, thank you. I have flexibility now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Lorena Rodriguez. I'm captain at Sheriff's Information Bureau. Today, Sheriff Robert Luna will provide an update on the Monterey Park mass shooting. The order of speakers today are Sheriff Robert Luna, representing the 1st District, Supervisor Hilda Solis, representing the 4th District, Supervisor Janice Hahn, District Attorney George Gascon, and closing, Monterey Park Police Chief Scott Weiss. Now it is my honor to present the Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Robert Luna.
Who's George Gascon? Is it that guy?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank you all for being here today. And I really want to thank everyone standing behind me for coming out to support us. You'll hear from some of them, but many of those you won't hear from have really been doing a great job of either offering
Thanks,
assistance, giving assistance, but we're here today with some successes, and I think a lot of that is because of the partnerships that we have with the people behind us. So just to start off, our homicide investigators are still working very hard, as they were yesterday, through the night, and today. This is a very complex investigation. There's so many other things we don't know. But as I told you yesterday, when we started, or when we get more information, we'll be happy to bring it forth as we get it. And it's not only the Sheriff's Department that's working on this. We're still working very hard with our partners from the FBI, the ATF, the District Attorney's Office. The list goes on and on. So anyways, we have additional information that we're going to be sharing with you today. I think some of this information may have gotten out the last several hours, but I do regret to inform everybody that we did unfortunately have an 11th victim that passed away. So now we have a total of 11 victims that unfortunately have died as a result of this tragic incident. I also want to share the names of 3 victims in which, and this is the key, I'm sharing these because the next of kin notifications have been completed. That's number 1, Mai Han, female, 65 years of age. Lillian Lee, female, 63 years of age. And Alvaro Valentino, a male, 68 years of age. I'm going to pause there for a second. It's not so much because the siren's going by, but when you think of it, these are 3 people who aren't with us anymore, 3 families who will never be the same. And we have to remember that as we're talking about these, at the end of the day, it truly should be about the victims and their families, and the support and love, our prayers, our thoughts should be with all of them as we move forward. So as most of you are aware, last night we served a search warrant at the suspect's residence in the city of Hemet. As a result of the search warrant service,
I guess he had a trailer.
investigators recovered a few items of interest.
He had a trailer.
These are just,
He wasn't homeless.
it's a summary, not everything we recovered.
His van was filthy.
We recovered 1 .308 caliber rifle, numerous electronic devices such as cell phones, computers, etc. Items that lead us to believe the suspect was manufacturing homemade firearm suppressors. An unknown amount, I say unknown amount, and I'll explain that here, of .308 caliber and 9mm caliber ammunition. And the reason we say an unknown amount, they were in containers, and there are hundreds of rounds. We don't know exactly how many there were. A lot of loose ammunition, so eventually, you know, we'll get to exactly how many of those were.
That's weird.
From the Monterey Park scene, where the victims were assassinated, investigators recovered a total of 42 shell casings and a large capacity magazine.
Get the fuck out of my way! What are you doing?
So 42 rounds were fired by the suspect at that location.
Fuck, man.
Investigators
Dude,
also recovered a Norinco 7.62 by 25 handgun from inside the suspect's cargo van. That's the handgun that you saw being recovered from the van yesterday afternoon. That firearm was registered to the suspect. There was also clothing that the suspect wore during the commission of these crimes, and that was also recovered from the van. We have also learned that the firearm, which was wrestled away from the suspect at the Alhambra scene, was a 9mm caliber semi-automatic MAC-10 assault weapon. I want to emphasize that all the firearms recovered still require additional forensic ballistic examinations and comparisons that we're doing with our partners, as well as additional investigations into the origins of where the suspect got those weapons. A lot of work to be done there, but we don't want to leave any stone unturned. We are still not able to release additional information and photographs of the weapon. And that's one thing I was pushing our people to release the picture of the weapons that we recovered. But there's still witnesses that need to identify some of these things, and if we put them out there, it starts impacting the investigation. So that's why we're not releasing pictures yet. Regarding the suspect's background, he has a limited criminal history with an arrest in 1990 for an unlawful possession of a firearm. I'd like to take a second to also thank Mr. Brandon Stye for his heroic action, which saved countless lives. He's the hero that disarmed the suspect at the Alhambra location, and in my opinion, saved many of lives. Originally, we put out that there were 2 people. We find out ultimately, as we normally do as these things get investigated, there was only actually 1 person who disarmed them. But as you know, we're trying to put out information. It was preliminary. So there was 1, and that's his name. And what a brave man he is. The Langley Center continues to be open for victim resources and next of kin notifications, where we are being assisted by a lot of partners who have come forward, embracing all of the victims, different organizations, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate them. And they're going to be needed for weeks and months and who knows how long to come. So thank you very much for your efforts on that. And then I just want to remind everybody, and the other speakers will speak. I'll come back up here. I'll answer as many questions as I can. But just please remember that our investigators, along with our partners, continue to investigate all the details. There's a lot of stories coming forward. We're not ignoring any of them. But we've heard some things that just are second, third-hand information, and the investigators are siphoning through all that information to make sure that we determine the motive. We still don't have a motive, but we want to know the motive behind this tragic event. And the FBI continues to collaborate with us in that portion of the investigation. And then finally, before I turn the microphone over, I would like to thank Chief Weiss and the Monterey Park Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms, the District Attorney's Office, the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services, and the United States Department of Justice, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner Coroner's Office, and all the various agencies that assisted us. And like I said yesterday, I'm getting calls all the way from our Attorney General. I spoke to our governor before coming down here, and he has been very kind in offering not only his condolences, but his support for anything that we may need. So with that, I will turn it over to Supervisor Hilda Solis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Luna. I represent the 1st District. My name is Hilda Solis, and included in the district the communities of Monterey Park and the city of Alhambra. For the last 2 days, as you know, we have seen just a tragic mass shooting take place in the city, our very own city of Monterey Park. Trauma, deep loss for many families that are suffering. We are all grieving. All of us are grieving. And I continue to have the families of those who lost a loved one in my thoughts and in my prayers. The chief medical examiner was able to identify 2 of those victims. You heard some of that already from our sheriff. The 65-year-old Mai Nehan and 64-year-old Lillian Lee. All of the county is with those that have lost their lives. First, I'm grateful for the swift and united actions of our law enforcement partners, the Monterey Park Police Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Torrance Police Department, the FBI, and other law enforcement agencies that assisted in keeping our public safe. Within a day, they were able to identify and secure the shooter quickly without causing more harm to our community. And I'm also grateful to
to the medical personnel at LAC
What
USC
do you
Medical
mean?
Center
All they did was
and other
knock on
nearby
his van
hospitals
window.
for continuing to treat those that were injured.
Talking about
Unfortunately, as
he
we
shot
heard,
himself.
one person who was critically injured
The
succumbed to
brave men
injuries
and women
passed
of the
away
police
last night.
force. They're
We know
brave.
that their path
Look
to
what they
healing,
did.
physically and mentally, may be long,
These people are
but
fucking
they will
whack
not
sometimes.
be alone
You
in
pat
their
each other on the
journey.
back too fucking
I'm
much.
coming
She's even back there
directly
nodding her
from
head to it. She's going to say the
LAC
same
Medical
fucking
Center, where I
thing.
visited with at least 2 of the survivors. One was going to be released today. Another one will be released in time, but are both recuperating. And you could see in their faces their spirit to fight, and the fact that they are resolved that they are still here. And they want to be with their families, and they want to know what happened to the others on that. I also visited earlier with some of the folks here, the Langley Senior Center in Monterey Park, to see what services our county, LA County, and the community are providing. And that is, I can tell you, without a doubt, some of the best resources that I have seen united at every level, the federal level, the state level, the county and the city, and community groups, the Red Cross, including other organizations. My hat goes off to our DA's office as well for doing all that he can to help provide services on site and on time, and to all of us. Our Department of Mental Health, physicians and psychiatrists are on hand, and they are there, able to speak the different languages that are needed and provided for these families. And also, they're providing legal assistance that's being offered there to the families, which is much needed. I've also received, I've also seen the support that we've received from communities like the Chinatown Service Center and the Sushai Center, the Red Cross, and many others that were there. As our law enforcement partners work diligently to determine the motive of the shooting, and as details continue to emerge, we have learned that we have true heroes. And we heard about one earlier that the sheriff spoke about. And I think that individual is a hero for all of us, someone that put their own life at stake and actually prevented more deaths from occurring is a hero in my books. Thankfully, members of our community, also our men and women in uniform, fought also to protect our community. So I personally want to thank them, and had an opportunity to meet with some of the staff from Monterey Park Police Department who were there, who are also going to need help, also going to need assistance. So we need to be there. It isn't just a one-off that we're going to be here one day. The county will remain there for a long time.
So much
and we
thinking.
continue to mourn with all of the families. I also want to say, I want to thank the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who last night was also here. He visited with one of the patients, I believe, at LAC USC, and also toured the Langley Center. He also is in strong support of whatever resources we need. Last night, I also had the privilege to receive a call from our president, President Biden, who asked me what was needed here. And I told him, we just need more reinforcements. We need more help. We need to stop this type of
you must thank God.
violence in terms of guns, and also to provide more assistance by way of mental health services, not just for the community of Monterey Park, but for the entire AAPI community, and in particular, some of our senior centers
especially
that
for the
service that community.
Asians.
So again, I stand strong with you. LA County mourns with you, our community, but we are here to serve.
They need services.
Thank you very much.
They need shit. You know what I'm saying? All of them, everywhere, not just here, because they're hurting.
I'm Supervisor Janice Hahn, and I am
Why?
currently the chair
I don't hurt every
of
time
the
a
Los
white
Angeles
person
County
dies.
Board of
Like, I'm not like,
Supervisors.
oh, they killed our
and I'm
people.
here today, of course, to provide support to my
kill
colleague,
people
Supervisor
in general.
Hilda Solis,
It's not like an Asian
who
thing,
had
though,
this
is it?
tragedy unfold in her district in Monterey Park. Sheriff
they
Luna,
happen to hang
you've
out
been in
with
this
each other in a
office
big-ass
for
club,
less
like,
than 2
environment,
months, and you already had to deal with the worst mass shooting
one of them shot
in LA
them,
County's
dude.
history.
Fuck out of here with that shit.
Watching you yesterday,
Lady,
I want to
you're
thank
Asian.
you
Shut up.
for your grace
She's trying to do
and
something.
dignity in how you handled it. Also want to
Biased
thank our
on it. She's
governor
trying to get some money or
for
something.
reaching out and for offering
Oh my God, so much
resources
thanking.
to
Can't
us.
you just
Los
thank
Angeles
them as a
County
group?
is in mourning. And as chair of the Board of Supervisors, I ordered our county flags to be lowered to have staff in honor of the victims of this tragedy. Certainly our prayers continue to be with the family members of those who were murdered, a number that's tragically increased this morning to 11, as well as all those who continue to suffer from their injuries. Thank you, Supervisor Solis, for taking the time to go and visit those in the hospital. I'm sure that meant so much to them. And as our Sheriff's Department continues their investigation and works to determine a motive, I want to take the opportunity to recognize the good police work that brought this terrifying situation to an end yesterday in the city of Torrance. As law enforcement conducted a massive manhunt in the early hours of yesterday morning, the suspect was in Torrance, miles and miles away from the scene of the crime in a nondescript white van. But because LA County Sheriff's Department made sure that they got the information out to all law enforcement
Dude, it was a
agencies
fucking
in the
biggest
county
mass
of Los
shooting of
Angeles,
LA County. Of
Torrance
course they got the fucking
patrol
information out,
officers
bitch. They're
were
like the
able to
largest
spot this
sheriff's
van
department in the
and
country
help
also.
bring this
If they didn't get it out, they're
dangerous
fucking
situation
really
to
dropping
an
the
end.
ball on that
Thank
one, wouldn't you say?
Again for the idea of cooperation,
man.
for the idea
People
of
knew the
sharing
guy. This isn't like it was a hard case to crack. He was a dance instructor there.
Together,
you know, like
he
had animosity with other dance instructors because he was giving free dance lessons to people.
In Torrance, of course.
So they knew him,
were
dude.
anxious,
Like they knew the van. They
this
got it
was
out
at
there.
large all day. There's
It's
a large
amazing.
Asian American community in Torrance, and no one at that point understood what the motive was.
They probably
so
knew
I
his
really
license
wanted to
plate
thank
number and
the
everything.
Torrance Police Department. I was with them yesterday. They did good police work. So
Oh
thank
my
you
God,
again
they
to
need more
everyone
money too,
who
for
brought
sure.
this situation to
No,
an
they did
end.
less money. What does that mean if they did good? They're doing all right. They don't need any more money.
You know, this was a moment that was supposed to be a moment of celebration,
Oh,
not only for the
DA, right?
AAPI community, but for many of us that have friends, family members in this community, and one individual with guns caused this incredible tragedy.
Get rid of the guns, right?
And I think it's important that we reflect in what has occurred. I want to thank, first of all, the family of the Monterey Park community, the police department, mayor, city organizations, and others that were not only there immediately before many of us were able to get there, but they have continued to bear the brunt of the work. I think it's really a testament to the leadership in Monterey Park. I also want to thank our sheriff and the sheriff department and all the other both local and state and federal agencies that have worked together in order to make sure that we brought accountability to this case and that we stopped a potential threat to our community so quickly, and our supervisor Solis, who has been there with us from the very beginning. You know, the role of my office is a complex one in these cases. Obviously, had there been an arrest, we would have been engaging in the issue of, you know, looking for a prosecution, but that not being the case here, we play other roles, and we were there from very early on, providing investigative support in order to make sure that if there were going to be a prosecution, that we would have the right information. We also provided legal assistance in order to make sure that search warrants were conducted appropriately. But more importantly, our role now is one of dealing with a recovery, and our victim services, our mass casualty impact team has been at Langley and in the Monterey Park area since yesterday. We have worked already with families trying to get them into services, and we will continue to do so for the weeks to come, and we'll continue to work with communities in order to deal with the grieving and ensuring that all the resources that are available in our community and even outside the community will come to bear. This will be a long haul for the victims' families, and the communities, and I want to make sure that we continue not only today, but for the weeks and months to come. We know that trauma, we know that the impact of trauma sometimes plays differently for each of us. Some of us have immediately the symptoms and deal with them. Others, in maybe weeks or months. And it's important that we recognize that as a community, we'll continue to be there with you. Again, I want to thank all of our partners for this and to show our commitment that we will continue to work with everyone. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Scott Weiss, the Chief of Police, Monterey Park PD. I want to start off by talking about the partnership. You've heard a lot of agencies listed today. There's no way that my police department could have worked through this without the help of everybody you see behind me. Not just the partnerships locally and county-wide and federal, but the partnerships amongst all of the law enforcement agencies in Los Angeles County. I'm a relatively new chief. I've been in an acting role for a few months, but I was sworn in Thursday night, 2 days before this event. So it's a little bit of trial by fire for me, but I had a lot of chiefs help out when I needed that assistance. My focus now, as it has been from the beginning, is the safety of our community in Monterey Park. We have a lot of events that are going to come up in the next few weeks, one tonight. My officers are dedicated to make sure that everybody that comes to our city, all of the residents that want to come out and grieve, are safe. We will be there. We will always be there, and our diligence and our commitment to the community will never stop. I also want to talk a little bit about the wellness of my officers. I had one of the youngest shifts that I have on the job there that night. My 3 young female police officers who had only been on the job less than a year, they made entry into that building knowing what they were going to run into without any hesitation. From the moment the call came out to the moment they went through that door, we're talking about minutes. They didn't think about what they were going to encounter. All they thought about was getting in there and helping the people that needed help and stopping that gunman. They're feeling it today. I've sat down with each one of them, and I guess kind of like that father figure that the chief becomes, kind of wrap my arms around them. My whole department has collapsed onto them to make sure that they're safe, and they understand how proud of them I am and how proud the department is of them. They want to stand that line. They're back on duty, or they will be soon, but I need to make sure that my officers are safe, and officer wellness is a huge part of being a police officer in today's age. Officers get a bad rap. And I can tell you, I have 77 of the greatest human beings on the planet that work for me. They dedicate their lives to the city of Monterey Park, and they will go into whatever danger they see in front of them to make sure our community is safe. We will continue to do that, and I love each one of them. At this point, I'm going to open it up to questions.
No. The question is, do we have a motive yet? And we do not have a motive yet. We want to know as much as all of you. And we're working very hard to attain that. Yes, ma'am. The question is, there's information out there that the suspect may have committed these crimes, and I'm paraphrasing, due to jealousy or some relationship issues. We're hearing those things too, but have not confirmed any of that information. It's part of what our investigators are diligently looking into.
Question about the timeline. Did the shooting start in the parking lot? And also, what time did the Monterey Park alert you that there was a shooting? And also, why did it take 5 hours to alert the public of the shooter on the loose?
I'm going to let the Monterey Park Police Chief answer the first part of the question, and I'll come back and answer the second.
So our 911 dispatch received 911 calls about a shooting in progress at 10:22 to 10:23. Within the 30 seconds, we received numerous calls. My officers were on scene within 3 to 4 minutes. Once we stabilized the situation, which means my officers dealt with all of the people fleeing the business, both the ones that were shot, the ones that weren't shot, the whole thing, they then suited up and went inside. So imagine a crew, people coming out, and my officers swimming upstream to get inside to stop the problem. Once we stabilized the scene, did our search, made sure there was no hiding suspects, and set up our perimeter, we do an assessment. It was very clear at that point that we needed the Sheriff's Department's help, and when I got there in about 20 minutes. I don't live that far away. I walked the scene, and it was very clear to me that I couldn't handle this on my own with the people I have. It was going to be too much of a burden. The partnership that we have with the Sheriff's Department in Los Angeles County is very, very close. The first call went to Sheriff's Homicide, and that began the process. My next call, quite honestly, was to Sheriff Luna in the middle of the night. I think I woke him up about 11:30 maybe. I'd have to look at my phone. Don't quote me on the time, but I texted him. He called me back. We talked about what was going to be needed. But his people were already rolling at that point. So within a few minutes of us assessing what it was, that's when the call went out for help.
Did the shooting start in the parking lot?
I'll leave that up to the sheriff, but we had one of the victims in the parking lot outside. I don't know if that victim was shot prior to him going in or as he came out. I don't know.
So to answer that last question about the shooting outside versus inside, we did have one victim who was shot outside of the dance hall in a vehicle. And we believe, and again, I'd like to tell you this is exactly what happened, but we're still putting it all together. We believe that that victim was probably shot before he started his rampage going inside. In regards to the previous question you asked, in regards to the hours in notifying the public, I believe we put out a statement. I don't have the time in front of me of when we put out that statement. I know when I arrived early in the morning, those were questions we were asking each other in trying to weigh not only assisting the victims, trying to investigate this, and the other priority of apprehending the suspect. Our detectives had done some really good work and felt they had some really good clues. When we started putting out public information, the priority was to get this person into custody. So we were very strategic in the way we were putting out information. Ultimately, it worked. We will go back and look at, as we always do. Nobody is as critical as we are to ourselves about what worked and specifically what didn't work, and evaluate that and see what the weight was and determining what the public risk was at that time. All excellent questions that we are going to be looking for answers on. What did he plan this? Was it the day of? Was it a week before? What drove a madman to do this? We don't know, but we intend to find out. And we're as curious as you are, because it's, I mean, this is disturbing. How can you even come to reason that somebody would even think about doing something like this? It's horrendous.
I could see it. He knew those people, dude. Fucking no, dude. People are crazy now.
Allegations about family poisoning. We've heard the same information. I believe the information we have is that the Hemet Police Department put that out. I would recommend you call them. We don't have specific information, although the investigators our investigators will be looking at all those factors to see if it contributed to the madness that occurred that day.
It's when it's random that I don't get. But I mean, yeah. Get animosity with all those people.
Was the suspect known to the individuals at the dance studio? We're hearing that there were possible relationships there.
Why is he
but
so
I'm
out
not
of the
going to
loop?
confirm that yet because that's part of everything.
Dude, but
that
they're
we're
so
looking at.
they're
But
so
we hear
good
the
at what
same
they're
thing
fucking
over and
doing. They
over.
don't know
so
shit
obviously
though.
it has to be looked
It's
into
a little
and more
annoying.
importantly verified. Because I'm getting a lot of
The
questions
news
in the
knows
last
more than they
24
do,
hours
dude.
about information coming to all of you. It's second and third hand information. It seems like a lot of people definitely have opinions. Everybody has a perspective. But what we're finding out is it's not supported by facts and evidence. And we're in the business of reporting facts and evidence the best that we can.
Okay.
So,
Fuck you. They fucked my car up, dude. This department. For no reason they shot at my car, dude. Assholes.
we're in the process of looking at all that.
3 times.
I'm trying to. The question is, have we talked to any next of kin for the suspect? The information I had coming up here is I don't believe we have yet. It doesn't mean we're not going to. It's not on our list of things to do. But that's part of the process of finding out more about his background, whatever made him do something like this, and leading to the motive. He was making. Were there any modifications to the weapon that was found? You were talking about the weapon that was recovered. Where?
He shot my fucking
So the MAC-10 that was recovered in Alhambra. There are some modifications to that, but as we're having it thoroughly examined, we're going to wait till we put that out. And please remember, I don't want to sit here and describe the weapon to a T. We have witnesses that still need to be interviewed. Part of the questions all of you are asking. We start putting out information in this format, that's not good for any of us. So I want to make sure. Were there modifications? I'm just going to leave it at yes. Yes, sir. So the question is, if I understand it correctly, the modifications, again, to the weapon and the arrest when he was arrested in 1990. So that's exactly what we're analyzing with our partners at the ATF. Nobody does fire examinations like they do. So we'll look at that. And what gets confusing, and I will not try to explain, is remember that California has some of the most strictest gun laws in the country. But then you look back historically over the last 10 and 15 years, there's been modifications. So if you look at somebody who may have been arrested back in 1990, maybe then it was or was not illegal, and what it is today, maybe not only a firearm, but a potential modification, and even the magazines being used. So a little bit more complex. It's part of the puzzle that we're trying to put together, but very good questions. Yes, ma'am. Confirm or deny that one of the victims is related to the suspect. At this point, we don't have any evidence of that, but that could change. We don't know. And as we're getting information from the coroner's office, who is responsible for identifying and notifications to the next of kin, we'll continue to work with them. So thank you guys all very much for coming out. Appreciate you.
And that's a wrap. That's it for this one. You guys have a good time. Good. Enjoy yourself. I gotta go again. It's over. Thanks for hanging out. Say goodbye. Spicy Peace 2, Granny Joe, everybody else that was here, hot coffee. Everybody. Hey, Thomas. Thomas, dude. WG33. Bob Swagger, first one here. Catman T was here. Thor was here. People were here. Plumax Lumax here. Texas Farmers. You missed him. He was here, dude. Doodles McGee was here. Did you see him? Toodles McGee. Crazy Cat Lady was here with Amber. Amber Gundongdu. Gundogdu. That's a trippy last name you got there, Amber. My BMW was here. He was not talking about Bitcoins, though I tried to get him to. He didn't want to. Why not? Yep. DT99 was here. Mr. Lame Strange, he was too. Well, Bill 47 was here too. He was the last one. Alright, everybody, take it easy. Till next time, take care of yourselves. Each other. I mean it. You better take care of each other now.